Yeah, good evening, everyone. So, last session we learned about timer events, how to handle them. So, we discussed about timer events, and in timer events, we have a set timeout, clear timeout, set interval, clear interval. These are the timer events we learned how to deal with them. And the purpose of this to control the task by scheduling the task at regular intervals. That means a task can be immediately executed. So we can delay the process. So we can delay the process of execution. How we can do that? So we can do by using set timeout. And what is difference between timeout and interval? So difference between timeout and interval. Timeout will perform the task only once and the interval will perform the task repeated. It is going to perform the task repeatedly. And one more concept we learned. What is it? We discussed about use ref hook. We discussed about the hook. And what is the purpose of this? It creates a memory reference where you can store any data or functionality so that it can be used internally and it's not intended to output present in UI. So it is presented and it is not intended to display in the output. That is the concept here. So how we can manage use reference. Now, next important, we will see some examples using this. So we will see some examples. How do we work with them by using a set interval and by using clear interval, use reference, all these options, how they work, right? So last session, one example already we learned. This example is just to understand the process of how to release the task at regular interval. So we given a task and we are releasing the task at regular interval, that is 1000 milliseconds we are doing it. Now let's see another example. For this example, what we are going to see is first, to deal with the example, today we will see one small concept of accessing data from API. So we will use some fake APIs and we will try to access data from those API. So we will see one example of working with the APIs, dealing with the APIs, we will see that. So initially we will use some sample APIs. We will use some sample APIs, but later we will learn about creating our own APIs. We will learn some server side logic and we will learn how to create our own API and use them. There are so many ready-made APIs available. So we will see one API. You can try different API examples I will show you. You can try the API. We have an fake store, fakestoreapi.com. This is actually an API which provides the data. It is going to provide the data related to some shopping, online shopping related data is available here. Right. So what is API? How these APIs works? It's a big concept. That means I will separately deal with this concept when we learn our own APIs. We will discuss that. Actually, one basic introduction I will give, and then detailedly we will create our own also, right? So because in our examples we start using some real life data, then it will be more easy to handle, right? First you need to understand, to know about API, you need to understand the concept of distributed computing. Distributed computing. So you need to understand the concept of distributed computing. So first we will know about it, then we will implement it. Actually, computing technologies, there are so many different types of computing technologies we have. Like we have parallel computing, cloud computing, cluster computing, distributed computing. Different computing architectures are there. It is not necessary for you to know about everyone, but in software development, the computing architectures are classified into different types. We have cluster computing, we have parallel computing, we have distributed computing, cloud computing, like that. Can you tell me what is cloud computing? This is very popular now these days. What is cloud computing? Actually, the concept of cloud computing is a service. Cloud computing provides, it actually provides infrastructure as service. It will provide software as service. It will provide application as service. That means application as service. That means infrastructure as service, platform as service, software as service. So many services are there. Actually, what is cloud concept is just a basic overview I will give to you. Actually, cloud is a service. Yeah. This is the point. For example, just take a concept like, suppose we want a small software development company to start. A small software development company with 20-30 people team and working on different projects, Java, .NET or something. Then how much investment you need? What is the infrastructure you need? These days it will be in crores of rupees. To establish even a small scale startup, it will take crores of rupees, because just example is you need a server workstation. It will cost 30-40 lakhs approximately. 30-40 lakhs only server workstations will cost. You need a network engineer. Every month you need to pay him to maintain the network, hardware, engineering, everything related to those servers. That means the point is, you need actually all these to maintain a software company. That means what is the infrastructure needed for a software development company? You need networking, you need storage, you need servers, you need virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, applications, and everything we need to buy. That is too cost. That means very high. That is, you can say in crores. We have to invest crores. But what is the concept of cloud? The concept of cloud is somebody will do it for you. You just use it and pay him rent for doing that. Suppose you want a software setup, means office setup. Do you know in our Hyderabad high-tech city, Madhapur area, plug and play offices are given for rent. Have you heard? Even in Amirpet area also some places we have plug and play offices for rent. Like you have Aditya Trade Center and all their offices are there, plug and play rent. Plug and play means what? They will give you infrastructure, internet connection, mobiles means phones. They will give you computers, internet connection to the computers. Their hardware engineer will be there. He will take care about all their security services, everybody, their management will be there. You pay rent and use their office. That is what actually the concept of cloud. You don't buy everything, you just pay rent and use it. That looks better. And do you know, actually in high-tech city Madhapur area, morning one office running, in evening another office will be running in same campus. There are so many like that. Morning one people will do a work, evening time another office people will do another work in the same place. Such plug and play concept. That means you don't need to buy everything. So they provide you all these services. And see, you pay money, they will provide infrastructure as service. Infrastructure as service means what? That means the cloud people will maintain. Here I am showing Microsoft Cloud, Azure, AWS, Azure, everybody have same concept. Infrastructure as service means what? They maintain servers for you, they maintain storage for you, they maintain virtualization, networking, others you maintain. Others your responsibility. You pay more money, they will give platform as service. Platform as service means you have to maintain only two. What are those? Applications and data. You need to maintain only these two, application and data. You pay more money, they will give you everything. That means even software also. You don't need to buy the software. That means like suppose you are using MS Office, Visual Studio or any software. Usually software costs much. That means legally you have to buy the software and use the software for a company and they will give everything to you. You just need to pay. This is the concept of cloud computing. So just I given an overview. I am not discussing anything about cloud. The point is cloud computing is one computing architecture and it is a service for infrastructure, platform and application. What is distributed computing? Like that, so many computing architectures are there. There are so many computing architectures. Like we have different computing architectures. Actually, these are different computing architectures. We have cloud computing, distributed computing, cluster computing, parallel computing, grid computing. These are different computing architectures. You may know about only one or two regularly. There are so many different computing architectures. Now the concept is, what is this distributed computing which we are going to use? What is the concept of distributed computing? So what is the concept of distributed computing is, distributed computing allows allows communication between two different applications running on two different devices, two different machines. Distributed computing allows communication between two different applications on two different machines. Not only that, it is also about the communication between two different objects running in two different process of same machine. It is also about communication between two different objects running in two different process of same machine. So that is the concept of distributed computing. So I will tell you a simple concept about this. Means what is this? Let me explain here. Suppose we are having server. On server we are having, just let's say we have a Netflix app. On server we have a Netflix app, and on my device I want to watch it. Then how do I watch Netflix on my device? So two types are there. I can use a browser. In the browser I can access Netflix and I can watch it. Is browser specialized for Netflix? No, it is a universal app which we use to access different. There is another technique. In my device, I can install a Netflix app. In my device, I can install a Netflix app. And I can connect this app with the server. So that means in your mobiles, you are having Netflix, Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato, Flipkart. Can you use them without internet connection? Then they are distributed apps. Generally, you may call them mobile apps. They are not mobile apps. They are all what? Distributed. That means now the point is client app can communicate, it can get the updates and it can show you here. You know the difference. What is difference between watching YouTube in a browser and watching YouTube in a YouTube app? So many are there. One general point is when you watch YouTube in a YouTube app, several data can be given to you offline. You can download and watch the video later. Is it possible in browser? Not possible. That means two applications running in two different machines, they can share information. That means they can communicate. This is distributed. This is called distributed technology. These are distributed applications. Not only that, another concept is there. For example, another point here is in one device, you have two apps, two different applications are there. They can communicate with each other. They can communicate with each other. In your mobile, suppose you are having Make My Trip. You open Make My Trip and search for flights Delhi to Hyderabad. You browsed some flights, close. Now go to YouTube and or Facebook and open YouTube, Facebook. Suddenly you will find advertisement for that in YouTube. How? Is YouTube belonging to Make My Trip people? Then how YouTube is able to show advertisements about what you browsed in Make My Trip? That means I hope you people know your Android phones share data of one app with another. That is very dangerous. That's not good idea. That is also distributed computing. That means in one machine, two applications can communicate with each other. For example, a bank app sends an SMS OTP. OTP comes to SMS app. What bank app can do? It can read the OTP and it can autofill the OTP. That means SMS app is different, bank app is different, they are communicating. That is not good idea. That may not be safe every time. That's the reason you see in, for example, you see Apple devices. In Apple devices, when you install an app, it will particularly ask, do you want this app to track other data, share data with other apps? You can allow or you can disable. That's the reason in such devices, you will not see advertisement about anything you done in another app because you can block it. And the allow communication between two apps running on same device is also called as what? Distributed computing. Java, .NET, PHP, Python, all these technology people have to build these kind of apps. They need to build distributed applications. For that, they have different distributed technologies. For building distributed applications, that means to build distributed applications, to build distributed applications, to build distributed applications, various distributed technologies are required. To build distributed applications, various distributed technologies are required. Various distributed technologies are required. So some of the popular distributed technologies are, we have CORBA, we have DCOM, we have RMI, we have EJB, we have web service, so we have remoting. These are all different distributed computing technologies. These are different distributed computing technologies like CORBA, DCOM, RMI, EJB, web service. For example, you belong to some Java or C++, C like languages. CORBA is one distributed technology which supports more than 14 languages. Common Object Request Broken Architecture. DCOM is Distribute Component Object Model. RMI is Remote Method Invocation. EJB is Enterprise Java Beans. And for different technologies, different computing architectures are there. CORBA is used in almost 14 languages, including C++ also. DCOM is used in a language called Visual Basic, VB. RMI is used in J2EE, Java Enterprise Editions. And EJB is used for Java. Java uses EJB, Enterprise Java Beans. Web service is one which is known to all technologies. Java, .NET, PHP, Python, everybody knows one distributed architecture, that is what? Web service. Web service is popular among all. But now we crossed that generation. We are having more better than a web service. Now we are having more better. Remoting belongs to .NET. .NET people use remoting. We have more better than web services. What is problem with the web service? I will tell you. Even today, for experienced people in old projects, they ask web service. But for freshers, new people, web service, those days done, completed. We are now in future generation, and that future generation is API. What is difference? I will tell you. So these are all distributed computing technologies. You can see these are the distributed computing technologies, different distributed architectures. This all not required for you. This is the basic definition. So what is distributed computing? It allows communication between two applications running in two different machines. And not only that, two applications, two objects running in two different processes can communicate. And actually these are different distributed computing technologies. We have like CORBA, DCOM, RMI, EJB, web service, remoting. CORBA is invented by OMG Group Object Management in 1992, and it is used in 14 languages. And DCOM is used in a language called Visual Basic. EJB RMI is used in J2EE, and EJB is used in Java. Web service is known to all technologies. That means every technology uses web service. That means what is the aim? The aim is establish communication between two apps running in two different devices. Server app, client app, they can communicate. And two client apps can communicate. Two server apps can communicate. A client app can communicate with the server app. This is all a part of distributed computing architecture. And remoting is used by .NET like technology. These are all different distributed computing technologies. Now, in this distributed computing technologies, one of the popular one is here. I'll just give an overview. So common object request broken architecture. And this is distributed component object model. And we have like RMI, remote method invocation, EJB, so enterprise Java beans. So here, so this is remoting, web service remoting and others. I'll see the point here. Web service is one of the popular distributed computing technology. Distributed computing technology known to all software systems like Java, .NET, PHP, Python, etc. So this is web service is one of the popular distributed computing technology known to all software systems. So what is the problem with web service? That means what is the concept of web service? So we are not using much web services these days, right? Actually, suppose, so let's say, suppose I am searching here Java full stack developer web service. Means I'm just specifically, you can see Java full stack developer for one MNC, 3 to 8 years, 25 to 30 lakh per annum, and web service is required. That means React JS, Angular JS, Angular. Right? So see, their search strings are different. That means these requirements they give below na, these are the people who are not technical. HR people, somebody upload this job. Technical people are not uploading these jobs. One of the main problem in Naukri site is why your resumes will not be shortlisted for calling many times, because the person who scrutinize your resumes, picks them and send them to interview process, the person don't know technology. That person don't know the technology. Then what happens is, due to that, several things will be misguided, because you haven't mentioned in resume in the way how he knows it. That is the reason your resume will miss. For example, I will tell you one point here. For example, you written, I know React, and for that HR person, his project manager gives, we want React JS people. Now he will skip your resume because JS is missing. Seriously. For example, you written JavaScript, I know JavaScript, right? Or you written advanced, like I know ES6, but his project manager said we need JavaScript. He will ignore you. Seriously. I know very advanced JavaScript that I mentioned. That is the reason we mention I know JavaScript, I know ES6, I know advanced JavaScript. Everything I will mention because the HR don't know. That means that is one major problem we face here. So you see clearly here why they are asking React JS, Angular JS, 2 times Angular JS. Capital letter Angular JS is different from small letter Angular JS. And sometimes those people even don't have an idea about Angular and Angular JS. Difference is there. React and React JS difference is there. They don't know. This is where you face the problem. That's the reason usually what a person puts in his resume is majority what HR can easily understand. All the possibilities you write. Just like for a website we write meta keywords na? In SEO how people may find us. Like that you have to put the contents in your resume. That means then he will be satisfied. That's the reason, because this resume is forwarded, and once your resume is shortlisted, they will ask you to send the perfect resume again if they want. That is for technical purpose. But the point here is everywhere you will find majority experience level, you will find they will ask for which one? Web services. And these days we are more better than web service actually. These days we are more better than web service. Why? Because what is problem with web service? Let's take some points. So issues with web service. So what is the problem with web service? What is the concept about web service? Yeah. To understand this point, first you should know some basic concepts. Like I told you that two devices can communicate with each other. That means two devices, two apps in two devices can communicate with each other. Actually, this is server app. This is server application. And server app, this is provider. We call them as providers. Server app is a provider. And we have a client app. This is client application. And this client app is considered as a consumer. Now, in a generally in a computing, distributed computing, how they communicate with each other, how they communicate, what is the medium. Actually, three communication techniques are there. One is SOAP, another one is REST, another one is JSON. The three specifications are there. That means how two apps will communicate with each other. There are three specifications. One is SOAP, another REST, another JSON. SOAP is service oriented architecture protocol. In SOAP, what happens is the consumer who wants information, this consumer will make an XML request. Consumer will make a request in XML form, and that request will go to the provider. And how provider will send the response? Provider will send the response in XML form. That means the communication will be in which format? XML. That means I want some employee whose designation is manager. Then how do you ask? In XML we ask. That means in XML how we ask? So we have employees. In the employees we have employee. In the employee we have designation. Designation is like manager. Like this XML will be actually. This is a XML syntax. Just roughly I am giving that. This is XML syntax. This is XML syntax. In XML, request will be like this. That means I want all the employees whose designation is manager. Then it will give you, this is XML request. Response also will come in XML. That means the response also will be in XML form. XML. So communication happens by using XML. Which technique? That is SOAP. And we migrated from SOAP and we started using REST. REST is actually representational state transfer. In representational state transfer, consumer will make a simple query request. It will be a simple query. That means consumer will make a simple query request. Simple query request. That means how the query request will be, roughly I will give you here. Generally how the query request will be, the query request will be like this. Question mark. I want designation. Designation is equal to what? Manager. This is how we request. That means some server.com, in that some data, in that question mark, designation is equal to manager. This is how we send a query. And how it will respond? Server will respond in REST. Server will respond in the format. The primary format will be in XML. And optionally, it can even use JSON. Optionally, it can use JSON also. That means it can use JSON. But the primary response will be in XML. Optionally, you can send the response as JSON. That means you send a request using a simple query. Response will come in the form of XML or JSON. So this is called RESTful. RESTful services. In RESTful, the communication will be simple. Response also will be in XML or JSON. We have more advanced, but we are not using this everywhere. But now this is the future generation. And what is that future generation is, you send request in JSON, response also will be in JSON. That means request and response both will be in JSON. Still everybody is not implementing this, but this is advanced now. Still companies are using REST and some old companies are still using SOAP. SOAP is very outdated. So we are not using much SOAP concept. So we migrated from SOAP to what? REST. And more better than REST is now JSON. JSON. So there are three specifications. Communication specifications will be there. We have three specifications. We have SOAP, REST, and JSON. Actually, this is the SOAP. SOAP uses languages like WSDL, UDDI. These are the languages. In SOAP, the request and response will be like this. That means in SOAP, consumer will send a XML request. Request will be in which form? XML. And response also will come in the form of XML. That means the request and response will be in XML form. The request response will be in XML form. We have another one, REST, representational state transfer. In REST, you see the request will be in a simple query. The REST will simple query request. Response will be in XML. Now recently we are using JSON. JSON. That means instead of XML, we are using JSON. Now the question is, why XML or JSON? That means why we prefer communication in XML or JSON. Generally, how communication happens in network. That means in network, we use modem technique, modulator and demodulator. You know, na, modems, right? Binary to object, object to binary. We call this mechanism as COM marshalling, COM to marshal. That means an object is present in memory. That object is converted into binary. From binary, it is converted into electrical signals. They pass through the wire or Wi-Fi. Again, our modem will collect those signals, convert them electrical signals to binary, again binary to object. That is the basic communication, how it actually works. In this, what is the speciality of XML and JSON? Why can't we maintain data in a text file, notepad, txt file, and we send the data? In a network, we can send any information in a text file also. In a text file, we can keep some data and we can send. Why especially in XML and JSON? What is the speciality of this is, basic point is XML and JSON format is not infected by virus. That means they are not infected by virus. Second point, they are transported through wire or Wi-Fi without any conversion. Without converting, we can transport the data if it is in the format of XML or JSON. Another point, they cannot be blocked by firewalls. Usually in your computer, firewalls will be there. What firewalls will do? They block the conversion of data, they block the data. Due to that, data cannot come if it is suspicious. Some large amount data, some suspicious data, then browsers, our firewall will block the data. And what is the advantage of XML is, XML can flow through firewalls. JSON can flow through firewalls. Not only that, XML JSON is the format which is understandable to any device. Any operating system, any device can understand this data. That means a smartwatch can understand and a PC can understand. And now Windows operating system can understand, and Mac can understand, Linux can understand, Unix can understand. A Firefox browser can understand, a Safari can understand, Internet Explorer, Chrome, everybody can understand. That means these are the formats reachable to any device. That means, for example, you are watching weather report, where you can watch. I can watch the weather report even on a smartwatch. I can watch on my PC. I can watch on my mobile. I can watch on tab. I can watch on a smartwatch. How data can reach on smartwatch, which is a low bandwidth device? Data should be able to reach there also. That is possible because of XML and JSON. XML and JSON. This is the communication. So what is problem with web services? One of the major issue, you understood the specifications. What is problem with web service? It can use only SOAP as specification. It can use only SOAP as specification. Through additional implementations, we can make it use REST also. But primarily it depends on what? SOAP. It depends on SOAP. So primary communication will be in which form? XML. You send request in XML, response also will be in XML form. So the one of the main issue is it is primarily using SOAP, which is not a great one in the current generation. Another point is it can run only on web servers. 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 That means one of the main problem with this web service is its name itself is web service. Its name itself is a web service. That means it can run on only web servers. Suppose you have a private network. In that network, you have some local servers. In that you have some data and you want to share. Web service is not suitable. That means it can run only when it is hosted on web. It can run only when it is hosted on web. That is not great for every network. Every network doesn't use web. You know that, right? Another problem is it can use only HTTP as protocol. It can use only HTTP as protocol. And I hope you people know there are so many protocols in communication. That means how email communication happens. Which protocol is used for emails? Actually, HTTP is for transferring web pages. HTTP is for transferring web pages. You are communicating, transferring web pages, that is HTTP. If you are sending emails, that is actually managed by SMTP. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. SMTP is used for emails. That is the reason, do you know, if you have a website, you purchase a website. If you want emails in website, separate server you have to buy. Email server separate. In your web server, email cannot be there. You have to purchase web separately. You have to purchase email separately. You have to purchase MSMQ. MSMQ is what? It is messaging service. Suppose you want to send messages, chatting, communication, then it is different. There are so many protocols for messaging. MSMQ is one. That means different protocols are required. Data is transferred through different protocols. That means suppose you want a website. You will buy hosting space. That is only for web pages. You need to buy a separate space for emails. You need to buy a separate space for mail messages. That means if you are chatting, communicating, you need a separate server. Emails, separate server. That means that is the reason every protocol have some rules. How much data you can send in HTTP? There is no limit. But do you know email have limit? SMS have limit, you know? You cannot send any number of content. That is all because they use different protocols. And what is the problem with web service? It can work only with that is not good idea. That means that is not great. It can run on only HTTP, right? These are some important issues with web service. These are the issues with web service. And how the specification works? Web service specifications. What are the specifications? We have 3 specifications. One is SOAP, another one is REST, another one is JSON. So SOAP, REST, JSON. Actually, here, first important, soap, about soap we'll give here, service oriented architecture protocol. So consumer sends an XML request. That means usually it will be like, suppose products. In that product, in that some ID is 1. That is how the request will be. Now provider sends an XML response. Provider sends an XML response. That means it will be like products. In that we have a product. In that we have ID 1. We have name TV like this. We have price that is related to first product. That is how the response will be. The request and response will be in XML form. So without knowing all these, we cannot work with APIs. First, we should know what they are, why we are using and where to, because the web developers, Java, .NET, everybody's in a project, always their work will be working with these APIs only, these services only. Everything comes in the form of a service. So this is SOAP. What is another one? REST. Representational state transfer. So consumer sends a query request. It will be http://server.com /data ? Some ID. Suppose say products ID is equal to 1. It will be like this. And provider sends XML or JSON response. XML or JSON response. XML response already you have. JSON response you know. ID is 1. Some name is some TV like this. And price is some price like this. The request and response. XML already given above. The communication between the consumer and provider will be in the format of XML and JSON. A query request and a response will come in the format of this. Another option is there. Another is JSON. JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation. And in this, consumer sends a JSON request and provider sends JSON response. That JSON already you know, so no need to give that example. The request and response will be in the format of JSON. Right. Offline tomorrow we will have in first floor only. Same. Huh? Today just congested here. So this is the specification. So what is issue with web services? It can run only on web. It can use only HTTP. So now the solution for this concept is we have web API. The solution for this concept is APIs. So what is API? So what is the concept of API? API is nothing but application programming interface. What is the concept of API? What is the concept of API is to make the data reachable to any device, any operating system service. What is the concept of API? So API provides a programming interface that handles communication in distributed applications. So its intention is to make the data available to any operating system service and any device. Its intention is to make the data available to any operating system service and any device. That means data can reach anywhere. That is the main intention of API. What is the feature about API is API features what one of the main feature about API is it uses REST and JSON. That means it is not dependent on SOAP. It uses REST and JSON, which is a good one, easy format of communication. Another important is it can run on any server. Not only that, what is advantage is it can use any protocol. It can run on any protocol. So the main feature is it uses REST and JSON. It can run on any server. It can use any type of protocol, which is a issue with web service. That is the reason the modern generation uses this APIs, application programming interface. Actually, you can simply say more features. It is actually lightweight. Another one is modular. And it is faster. These are all some key features. Lightweight, modular, faster. Modular means it delivers only what is needed for the situation. We have legacy and we have modular. Legacy means it loads everything. Modular means it will load only what is needed for that particular situation. So this is the concept of API. This is the API concept. That means what is the API? How they communicate. This definition is not required. Actually, one simple diagram I will show. This is what the concept of API. This is the main intention of API. And by seeing that, you can easily understand. That means we have some data, and what is the purpose? It should reach everywhere. That means any operating system should be able to understand. any device must able to understand, right? That is the main concept of this, right? The concept of API is to make data available everywhere. Everywhere. Actually, the world first API, do you know, in your mobiles, you are using shopping like Flipkart or Amazon or different shopping apps are there. Can anybody tell which architecture shopping apps follow? Whose architecture shopping apps follow? For example, we have browser. Different browsers are there. Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Edge. Can you tell which architecture all browsers follow? All browsers follow an architecture called Netscape. Netscape. Do you know who is Netscape? These people are the inventors of browser. First browser we used for internet was Mosaic. After that, very popular was Netscape. And even today, every browser's architecture is Netscape. They use the architecture of Netscape. Every browser uses the architecture of Netscape. Suppose I'm using Edge. Let's inspect. In the console, here, this is console. Yeah. In the console, I'm using Navigator. You know Navigator? Navigator is a JavaScript object. Navigator.app name. App name. App name. It is Netscape. Navigator is a JavaScript object used to know about browser. Browser version, browser architecture, everything you can get information about browser by using Navigator. Whether cookies enabled or not, all such things we can get by using Navigator. And they follow the architecture of Netscape. Why they follow the architecture of Netscape? Because Netscape are the first people who invented this big architecture of browsers in web, and they are very successful in that. So what we do, we don't follow anything else because this is already tested and proven. Better we follow that. If you try anything new, you may face lot of issues. For example, you are doing some programming in Java and you return some error, some program error is there. You go Google and search for that error. You will find answers. Those answers posted 5 years back. How they know you will come with this problem? They predicted the future. Huh? They predicted the features like Nostradamus. Like they know that you will born, you will learn Java, you will do this mistake, and you will come. Then how they have a solution 5 years back posted? I think you know this point. Na? That means you Google for any problem 5 years back, 2 years back, 10 years back, solution is posted already for that problem. How? Because they know that every programmer will follow one approach in solving a problem, and sometimes that approach may fail in different situation. He faced that situation, and you may also face that situation. If you face, then what is the solution? That means the answers will not try to correct your problem. They will already post a solution. They will say that your approach is not correct. Please follow this approach. You can solve it. Right? That means the concept here is, if I try building anything new by myself, then lot of issues will come. Already somebody done. He is successful. It is proven. Then why to do something new? If you are trying something new, then so many issues will come. Then you have to solve them by yourself. That's the reason in software development, what we do, we don't do anything new. We follow architectures which are already built. Why we follow those architectures? They are already tested. They are already proven. That is the reason we follow those architectures. So you see APIs means why I told you this, because suppose you are using mobile. Can you tell mobiles follow which architecture? All mobiles follow one architecture called Six Sigma. It is Motorola architecture. It is a Motorola architecture. Every mobile follows the same architecture of Motorola. That's the reason you can see Army, Air Force, Navy, Police, all these, only Motorola walkie-talkies will be there. No other companies, because they have certain secured architecture for that. They follow that architecture. For example, some China phones comes into market and we ban those phones. Why? Because they are not according to the safe architecture that we are looking for. If they are not, then they have problem. That means every software technology follows certain architecture. Do you know all these shopping apps follow the architecture of one person? And that is also a very popular one. You may not be using, but you may heard about them, eBay. You know eBay? It is the world's first API. That means first time one app came onto my device, mobile, that app was eBay. It is the world's first application interface, API. That's the world's first API. That's the reason all current API generations will follow the same architecture of eBay, especially when they are developing shopping, e-commerce apps. When they are building e-commerce apps, they follow the architecture of eBay. 100%. I think you know in your Paytm, PhonePe, shopping will be there. Yeah. In your PhonePe, you will have shopping apps. You know, in PhonePe, there is a shopping option. You know, na? You open that shop. That shopping option in PhonePe and Paytm is provided by eBay. That is supported by eBay. Now imagine how lightweight it is. That means in a Paytm app, a shopping app is running. That means now imagine its ability. Very lightweight, very fast. So that is the concept of actually APIs. Actually, this is the concept of API. This is the generation of API. The first API started was eBay. After that, others came as APIs. And I just given here 2010 because this presentation I prepared in 2010. That is the reason I stopped there. At that time, while teaching people on .NET like technology, my role was .NET, right? And when we teach people on APIs and all, at that time I prepared this presentation. I stopped after that because after that hundreds, thousands of APIs are there. This is updated. So I haven't updated at that time. What APIs were there, I taken a screenshot of that and kept here. After that, millions of APIs are now running, right? Now the concept here is how these APIs are going to work, how these APIs are going to work, how we can handle the communication, right? So we will see some APIs, how they provide the data. For example, you see one API like, so I will show you one concept here. Suppose I will show one example like in JavaScript and all you may learn. Suppose we have NASA people. We have NASA people. That means we are having a NASA people. When you have NASA people, actually NASA people say that if you are a software developer and you are building some apps related to science, technology and space, you need any data from us, we will give you for free. That means NASA people say that, so you are a developer and you are building apps related to science and space and technology. What data you need, we will give it for free. That means they have their data in their database. Then how they will provide us the data? I am a Java developer. I want to build an app with Java. I am a .NET developer. I want to build an app with .NET, PHP, Python. Any technology you may use, data is same. Any technology you may use, data is same. That means front end, back end, any technology you may use, but the data comes in the format of XML or JSON. For any software developer, data is same. Then see how they provide the data. Actually, they have a website, api.nasa.gov. This is NASA official website of API. And this is NASA API portal. What is the purpose of this? This objective of this site is to make NASA data accessible to application developers. That is the main intention. Okay, let's see how their data looks like. Let's browse APIs. You see lot of APIs they are having. Astronomy, picture of day, asteroids, so many are there. I will select some Mars rover photos. And Mars rover photos, let's go here. You see, they have given a query. And by seeing this query, what you understand? What is the communication type here? Is it SOAP? Is it REST or JSON? It is REST. Why? Because a simple query. Okay, let's see how it will respond. I will send this query and it is going to respond with the data like this. This is going to display the data. And what is this format? JSON. In the modern generation, actually few years back, these people were XML. Few years back, they were XML. That means they used to send data in XML and we need to read in XML and we need to present in XML. And for presenting and working with XML, you need XML knowledge. Now it is JSON. You already know JavaScript, JSON format. That means now this is the format, how the data works and how the data is managed. This is the data. Now what is the developer responsibility? Developer responsibility is access the data and design a presentation. And for example, I will show you another one. Now the question is, for what kind of apps he can use this data? Any app. It may be a desktop application, web application, distributed application, mobile application, even an application for a smartwatch also can use it. Because the data can reach everywhere. For example, I will show you another, suppose weather API. This is weather API. This is an open weather API. This is weather data. Weather data means you send your geolocations. Geolocation means your latitude, longitude. How anybody's location we can know. On map, anybody's location we can know by accessing his latitude and longitude. These are the two values we need. You open your mobiles and there will be an option allow location. When you open any app, when you allow location, what it will do, it will calculate, it will get your latitude and longitude from where you are using internet. And based on that, it will get the weather. And you see, this is weather API. Actually, this is a paid one. They will provide some free limited data, but our developers have to buy this and use it. And for example, I will show you the API document. This is the API document, and you can see that this is the API document and they provide data in JSON form. And this is latitude and longitude. So I will show you various concepts how that works. That means that is JSON form. You can have data in XML form. Actually, they provide different types of data here. This is the RESTful service form. A simple query request we send, they will send the response. What we do is through JavaScript, we can get the latitude and longitude of the user, and we can send that latitude and longitude. What this API will do, send the weather details of that, which we show in the UI. That means actually how the weather data looks like. Weather data looks like this. Now what our React developer will do, he will put a cloud photo, he will put a temperature, he will put a raining animation saying that it is going to rain. All this is UI developers. and the data for the developer comes in the format of JSON. This way, and you have to present. That means how you create a cloud raining, that is all CSS. Right? How you will show that sunrise, sunset, like animations, all CSS. And with your technology, React or Angular, we can access the data and we can present the data. So now there are so many such APIs. We have a fake store API. This is one fake store API. It is related to some shopping online. It is related to some shopping online. They will provide you some queries. Actually, it is a RESTful one. It is a REST API, and they will give you some data. You see, they given some requests, and when I select anything, it will return the data in this way. What we will do is we will try to use this data and create the presentations. And how do you consume the data coming from any API? You can use any of your AJAX methods, XML, HTTP, or jQuery AJAX, or Axios, right? You can use any different techniques and use them. We will use Axios. We will get the data from these APIs and we will learn how to present. With some timer events and all, we will see how to do that. That we will see tomorrow, right? Today I just explained you about what is API. What is the concept of API? Later we will create our own APIs. I will teach you how to create our own APIs. But first we will learn how to use existing some sample APIs. Then we can create our own APIs. Tomorrow, by using these API data, we will create some presentations, some interactions and presentations we will create. That we'll see in tomorrow's session. Okay, right.